What's going on, boxing fans? Julian Williams with the distance. I got a video for you guys now. Prediction video. April 30th unification bout, WBO and WBC bantamweight championships. Fernando Montiel versus Hozumi Hasegawa. However you pronounce the name, I'm not even sure. But unification bout, April 30th. Two champions putting their belts on the line against each other. Anyway, it brings Fernando Montiel to Japan to fight Hozumi Hasegawa, and Hasegawa is kind of a fight that a lot of people, including myself, have seen on YouTube that has never crossed the pond. Pretty much fought primarily in Japan. His entire career, had 2 losses early in his career, but hasn't lost a matchup since. And I actually think he's on kind of a streak of having knockouts. I think his last few fights he's had knockouts. And he's kind of getting that. I guess against Montiel, he's kind of getting a little more exposure across the box community than he did primarily fighting in Japan, though he does hold the WBC championship belt. I think it's a good thing to see these two fighters unify. So anyway, on to the matchup. I think in this matchup, Fernando Montiel pretty much has to fight a very disciplined fight, because Hasegawa has very good timing. So, and other than that, Montiel doesn't want to throw unnecessary punches, and he rarely does. If you look at a Fernando Montiel fight, Montiel doesn't really throw, in his combinations, he doesn't even throw more than 4 punches. And his hands are always up. And with Hasegawa, who has wonderful timing with the left, and good timing with the right, his timing in both hands are a bit different. And in this fight, Montiel wants to use his left jab to keep space and keep distance, so that Hasegawa doesn't get on the inside and times him, and times his shots. And also Montiel really needs just pretty much to fight a normal, typical fight for him. He needs to be on offense more than he is on the defensive. He really doesn't want Hasegawa coming forward and basically chasing him the whole fight, and getting the shots off. He doesn't want Hasegawa in his range. He wants to kind of stay out of range and use that jab to create space and keep space, so that he can move around and move freely in the ring. He needs to stay off the ropes as well. And I think that the primary weapon for Fernando Montiel is the left hand, because when there's exchanges, Hasegawa gets hit with left hands more than likely. That's the shot that he typically gets hit with, is the left hand. And that's coming out of, sometimes a break, coming out of a clinch, or coming out of an exchange. He tends to get hit a lot with the left hand. And that may be because he's a southpaw fighter. And usually he primarily throws his right hand, and when he's throwing the right hand, he tends to get caught with the left. So I think that he does need to focus on countering with the left hand. The counter left hook is pretty much a primary punch that needs to be in his repertoire for this fight. And pretty much that's really what he needs to do. He needs to use that left jab to create space and find openings. And other than creating space and finding openings, staying off the ropes and timing them with the left hand. And other than that, just fighting the typical Montiel fight. And Montiel could win the fight if he sticks to that type of strategy. Hasegawa, I think he needs to really focus on cutting off the ring in this fight. Pretty much cutting corners and pretty much cutting off the ring. He needs to focus on cutting off the ring rather than chasing Fernando Montiel. Because if he chases him, then that's kind of the fight Montiel wants pretty much wants, because he can counter going backwards. He could throw the left hook and right hook going backwards. So he does want to cut off the ring, apply pressure. And other than that, what's gonna what could possibly bother Hasegawa is the fact that the left arm, the left glove is always up, or excuse me, the right glove is always up. So it's gonna be much harder for him to counter with that big overhand right that he likes to counter with. And but other than that, the southpaw jab should be a weapon, because the southpaw jab needs to be used for Hasegawa to be able to get in close and be within range so that he can land shots. And other than that, he does need to try his best to wear down Fernando Montiel, slow him down so that he can have these openings later on in the fight. And other than having openings later on in the fight, you can pretty much wear him down and outwork him. Because he does land all kinds of good combinations on the inside within, when he's within his range. So he does need to stay within range. He does need to cut off the ring and apply pressure rather than chase Fernando Montiel. And in this fight, I really don't think that Hasegawa needs to take any risk in this fight. He just needs to fight smart. He needs to throw effective punches, time them very well, because as I mentioned, Hasegawa has wonderful timing, but the timing in both of his hands are a bit different. He could time you with a nice left hand or a powerful right hand. So really, there's a lot of tools that Hasegawa has that could win him this fight. But if you ask me, I did say last night when I was in the chat room for the Rope It Up Radio, when I was listening to that show, I did say that Montiel could win in a very close fight. But after hours of studying, after watching Montiel fights, watching Hasegawa fights, I pretty much changed my mind about that. I think that Hasegawa has the ability to outwork Montiel and apply constant pressure to Montiel, but that's only if he doesn't get caught with left hands coming in and coming out, because he does get caught with left hands coming in and out. So if you ask me, I'm going to say Hasegawa unifies the titles. I'm going to go with Hozumi Hasegawa by a unanimous decision. But at the same time, I could see it being close. I could see it being a possible split decision. But I want to go with Hasegawa. But anyway, that was the distance. Thanks for watching, and I'm pretty much out for the day. I'm tired. Peace.